You could be on the best supplements. You could be on the best health routine. If you are not breathing properly, if there is something stuck in your body that is compromising your breath, it will affect everything. It will affect how you digest. It will affect how you absorb. It will affect how you process information. And as soon as you release that tension in the body, breath grows bigger.
Welcome to Ask the Animal Healer, where we unlock the secrets of deeper communication and understanding between you and your pets. I'm your host, Dr. Allecia Maine, and each week we explore fascinating insights into the animal mind backed by science and spirit. Get ready to transform how you interact with your beloved companions. Now let's dive in.
Hello, my animal healer tribe. Welcome back to Ask the Animal Healer with Dr. Allecia Maine. That's me. So today what I'd like to talk about is how much our animals' unrecognized pain due to body misalignment or tight tissue is at the root of so many behavior and health issues that I see. So this is going to be really simple and to the point in terms of the science that the animals understand, because we're always on my show, we're always talking about the awareness that the animals have about their own science, because the truth is that that's where very, very long ago, the Taoist monks that lived in nature amongst the animals learned how to put together the traditional Chinese medicine system, learned which herbs were most powerful for healing, where they learned how Qigong, a simple form of movements that offer profound self-healing, how to actually construct that whole entire system. It was learned from the animal kingdom, right? And so often, so many of our sciences are based on animal studies, but the reality is that a lot of those animal-based studies harm the animals. And so when the animals started teaching me about 2.5 decades ago about their bodies, about their health, about how they work, and how to help educate them as closely to the way their birth moms and dads would teach them, that's where I'm basing this science on. So it's been my studies of Qigong and going directly back to communicating with the animals to be able to hear them, to be able to understand their science in the simplest ways that help support their bodies, their behaviors, their health, that help support their end of life journey as simply as possible, but with huge benefits of peace and harmony and relaxation. So, how did I come to understand the relationship of unrecognized pain from body misalignment and how that actually is some of the, honestly, the most primary causes of behavior issues, of health issues, of our animals not feeling well, even of our relationship issues. So I was a fitness trainer for many, many years. And one of my clients, who's kind of like my spiritual mom, introduced me to chiropractic care. And from chiropractic care, I started to learn that body misalignments were kind of creating a lot of my moods and behaviors and my digestive issues. And I was an amazing learning and understanding. And then I was also having acupuncture. And so acupuncture really helped rebalance my liver function, and it helped reclaim my kidney energy, and it helped me open my heart and find more joy. And then I started practicing Qigong, which is an ancient self-healing martial art. It's one of the oldest martial arts that was learned by the Taoist monks from the animal kingdom. And so they would watch the animals, they would watch their movements, they would watch how they stretched, they would watch how they moved through life. They watch how, they would rebalance their physical system with certain gentle stretches. And as I progressed on my Qigong path, I started doing some of this hands-on work with my animals. So from the way that Qigong helped me reclaim my personal connection to a level of sensitivity in my own hands and my fingers that I had forgotten, through lifting lots of weights and being really, really strong and active. And so as I would put my hands on my animal system, on their bodies, I started to notice changes in them. I started to notice them stretching more. I started to notice their coats getting shinier and their behaviors. They weren't bad dogs ever, but their levels of joy were increasing even more. And so one day, unfortunately, my golden retriever, Tucson, had a frisbee accident. He was jumping for a frisbee, which he loved to do, and his back legs did not catch him. So he kind of landed straight down on his tailbone. And when that happened, it's one of those injuries where you just kind of go, ooh, that must hurt. So he walked back to the house, and slowly but surely, I guess because of swelling in that area, he actually landed up being paralyzed. He couldn't get up. So I took him to a chiropractor, took him for acupuncture within the first couple of days, and wasn't really sure if it helped. At that time, I was having acupuncture, I was having body work, but I really didn't know whether these modalities could work with animals, because my mindset, just like so many people's mindsets, or, dogs and horses and cats and animals are different than two-leggeds. But what I started and what I would come to learn is that, yes, but at an energy essence level, there are so many similarities. So we tried the acupuncture, we tried the chiropractic, and wasn't really seeing results. And then I had been having and receiving these hands-on treatments from a friend of mine, and it was called Qigong Meridian Therapy. So she could do hands-on touch to areas of my body that would help my entire system function better. Now, I did not learn the system, I did not study the system, but I'm a pretty high level empath. So when I experience something, some kind of body work, learning something new, as soon as my body takes it in, I automatically understand it on some level. I mean, to the degree that I could do no harm. So my golden retriever Tucson said, why don't you try doing the things with me that Andrea does with your back, and let's just see what happens. So I just, like I said, I did not learn the system like from an intellectual perspective, so I didn't know exactly what points I was touching, but I knew that I can't go wrong. I love my dog. I'm not gonna do anything to harm him. So I started simulating what was happening with my back on his back, and within 4 days he got up and he walked, and he was fine after that. And it just planted the seed in my head. I guess I hadn't really fully connected how much body work actually affects not just our body, but our emotions, our psyche, our spirit, and how important body work is for the entire flow of the system. So many years later, when I moved to Aspen, Colorado, I was working with a healer dog. And his parents said, we don't know what happened. He's become aggressive. He was never like this. And I asked them, okay, can I go take him for a walk? So I did. And on our walk, because I was a communicator, I was like, dude, what's going on? Like, your parents say you're behaving strangely and you are having a hard time, you're reactive. He goes, I don't have a behavior problem. I have a body problem. And I took him for a walk and he was reactive. And, I was like, clearly you have a behavior problem. He said, no, it's coming from my body. He said, do you remember how you worked on your golden retriever? I need you to do that on my body. And I had been a communicator for probably about 5 years, at that time. So, I was always open to understanding more and more about animal consciousness and what do they really know compared to what we're told that they know by our current sciences. But I was a little taken back. I was like, what? I was like, you never even met my golden retriever. How in the world do you know what I did with him? And he said, because everything is connected. So I know, I know that energy field. He said, why don't you test my back the way you did with his? And so I said, okay, it's weird enough that I'm hearing animals talk to me, right? Why not do what they say? So I started doing the same assessment that I had done with Tucson when he had gotten injured. And I got to one spot in this dog's back, and it was at the middle of his back. And all of a sudden, his head turned really quick to me, and he let out a really, really big, deep breath. And I thought, okay, that's very interesting. Like you said, work with your back. And I released the tension in it, and you took a deep breath. And he said, okay, I'm better now. I was like, all right. So we start walking, down the pathway that we were walking, and we turned around and we went back to his house, and his parents, were there, and they were eager to find out, well, what happened. And I said, well, your dog doesn't really have a behavior issue. He has a body issue. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I did an assessment of his back, and both of them almost turned like ghost white. They were like, you touched his back? I was like, yeah, is there a problem? And they said, well, he doesn't let anybody touch his back anymore. We usually muzzle him to, do anything with his body. I'm thinking, well, it might have been nice to tell the trainer that that's possible, because you never know. Everybody thinks training is about like giving a treat or obedience training, or, that you're not actually going to put your hands on the dog. So they said, well, what happened? I said, well, he turned around pretty quick and he looked at my hand like he was on the verge of, I could bite you. But then he took a really big deep breath and then he was fine. So what he told me was that he doesn't have a behavior problem. He has a body problem. And they shared, he had kind of like a crash with another dog. And all of a sudden the dots just started to connect together. And I was like, wow, one of the primary reasons for dysfunctional, reactive, fearful, anxiety types of behaviors in animals is unrecognized pain, because they didn't realize he was in pain in his back. They knew that when they went to touch him, he was reactive, but they didn't know it was because of unrecognized pain. And from that moment, my entire animal training career, my entire animal communication career completely shifted, because as soon as I made that connection of how much the body can actually affect behavior in animals, it never made sense to me to try and analyze the behavior unless I checked the body first. So that, my dog Tucson, many, many years ago, probably like 2.5 decades ago, maybe longer, and this healer dog, probably about 2 decades ago, were the ones that kind of clued me into, if you are looking at transforming a behavior or a health issue, you need to actually check the body first. Now, I'd had a lot of experience with human bodies as a fitness trainer, as a biomechanics expert, as a Qigong practitioner, as a human who went for chiropractic care. And all of a sudden, I really started realizing, wow, bodies, and I get that they are different, but on some level, they actually function very similarly. Like if there is misalignment in a dog's or a horse's or a cat's body, their behavior can absolutely reflect that. But the key that I had to understand was most of the time we would potentially go to a chiropractor or, do something for our animals if we saw that they were physically lame. But what if they weren't lame? And what if we brought them to the vet and the vet did not know how to assess the back properly to check for unrecognized pain? And what if even we were massaging our animals and we didn't know how to check for unrecognized pain?
Ever wished you could just ask your pet what they need? With Can You Hear Me Now, an introduction to animal communication, you can do just that. Join me, Dr. Allecia Maine, as I guide you step by step to understand and speak the language of your beloved animals. Transform your relationship today. Click the link in the notes below on AlleciaMaine.com, and we will see you soon and get you communicating with your animals with ease in their natural language.
That was a huge key in me understanding the body, behavior, health connection. And well, let me back up there. It's the body, mind, health, behavior connection. Because as I grew up and as I was a fitness trainer and learned different things, I always thought it was the mind that was affecting the body. But with the animals, what they started showing me was, well, it's actually backwards. Like they said, your neuroscience picture, it's backwards because neuroscience and so many of the sciences that study the brain are thinking that the brain is in charge of the body. But as I started working with the animals, they started to show me when our bodies are stuck or in pain, even if you cannot see the obvious, lameness, like they're limping or they're struggling or their neck is tight or stiff. They said the body itself being tight or there being a misalignment or subluxation in the body or fascia tissue compression, that can create a slowdown of how the qi, the vital energy of the body that Qigong and traditional Chinese medicine study, if that slows down, you will have a compromise to the system because it's not getting the efficient energy that it needs, whether that's qi, whether that's blood flow. It won't work as efficiently if there's a compromise in the system. So I just found all of this fascinating because even though I had learned these things through fitness training and through my Qigong practice, it didn't fully register till I started working with the animals, until they started showing me exactly how these processes work at very subtle levels and very physical levels. And so as I continued testing these animals' backs the way that they taught me to do along the chiropractic points, and I'm not a chiropractor, I do not adjust bodies, I'm not an acupuncturist, I do not insert needles, I am just simply a body worker understanding what the animals wanted me to see so that I could be able to explain this to humans in very, very simple terms and to be able to teach their humans how to do this work. And while it has massive complexities, there's a simple way to do this to assess your animal's back, to release tension in the body so their behavior improves and their health improves and your relationship improves. And, they have a better quality of life as they age. So as I'm learning this year by year from them, I'm really starting to see every animal that I work with, I'm testing bodies. And you can read about this a little bit in a book called Soul Dog by Allecia Maine. I had worked with her giant poodle, Brio, who had collapsed on a sidewalk in New York City. And the diagnosis from the veterinarians was degenerative myelopathy. And it was interesting because she went to two well-known veterinarians and a veterinary neurologist. And when she had contacted me and I talked with Brio, he said, I don't have degenerative myelopathy. He said, what I have as a giant poodle is a whole lot of misalignments in my back. And it was creating nerve compression. And that nerve compression finally hit and I couldn't move. He said, so I want you to work with my back. And this was at a time when I was first learning. The animals were teaching me as I had gotten better and better at being able to do hands-on body work with them. And they taught me exactly where to touch on their back. They taught me exactly how to release the tissue. When I started working with Brio on that first phone call, he said, you will be able to help me walk again in 3 sessions. He said, this is not a degenerative condition for me, might be for some others, but it's not for me. And I will run, I will walk, I will, play again. So his human was kind of shocked, and she's a well-known producer and of TV shows, award-winning producer. And so within 3 sessions, Rio was up and walking and running. And it was, for all intents purposes, it would look like a miracle. But really what it was understanding the science of the animals, understanding the anatomy and physiology, understanding what was being compressed, releasing the fascia tissue, and taking the pressure off of the nerve that was compressed in Brio's body. There were several. And voila, the dog is healthy again. So a book was written based on, it was the inspiration. She had been working with animal communicators previously and other energy healers. And so, and she worked with many different dog trainers. So she wrote a beautiful book called Soul Dog. And a lot of my work is weaved into that book because she's talking about the specific things that happened and she couldn't believe the transformation, especially when the medical system said it's not possible. Like, he's not going to walk again. He's just going to get worse. So keep him on drugs. So that really gave me a massive eye opener. And remember the fact too, I was in Colorado. Rio was in New York. This was only by phone. And we were at least 2,800 miles from each other. I never met the dog. He never had met me in those 3 treatment sessions. And I had no idea if it would work. I had no idea. But I knew enough from working with numerous other dogs hands-on and trusting that she goes everywhere. She is honestly what I believe makes up the unified energy field. And Brio really showed us. I wasn't telepathically communicating him, asking him to get better. I was listening to him of what he was asking me to do. But that led to a very deep understanding of how much unrecognized pain due to subluxations or tight fascia tissue is at the root of so many of our animals' quote unquote behavior issues. Now, we say that animals can't talk, right? So they can, and they do, and so do we. We are able to truly communicate telepathically. But a lot of us shut that down. So we have this like knowing, but we're afraid to trust the knowing or the sensing that like we're seeing something in our animal's body or in their behavior. And we're like, I know something's off. I just don't know how to describe it. So oftentimes when I do these long distance sessions where I'm teaching my clients how to do the in-sync body assessment and fascia release technique, it always inevitably, somewhere along the line, my clients will go, oh my God, I knew that, but I didn't know what to do about it. Like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not, healer. So I didn't know what to say, but I knew that that was happening. So I put the context together for them. Like, if I'm doing a session with their animal and something comes up, they're able to see it right away. They're able to remember what their intuition and their instincts were telling them. If they work with me in the body class, they're fascinated because now they have an actual physical context to put to what they instinctively were knowing and how to proceed. So what all of this leads me to is this awareness that, listen, animals, they're contact sport beings, right? Whether it's chasing each other around the park, whether it's the puppy learning to chase the ball, whether it's the foal just being like, woohoo, I just was born and I have these legs and I'm going to run around. And, they are contact beings, more so than humans, I would say. And that can result in body misalignment because there is actual physical movement that the bones moved out of place, because they tweaked a muscle, which could tighten fascia and could keep something misaligned. But what that misalignment does is it actually affects the internal flow of energy and chi and cerebral spinal fluid through the body. And so when that gets backed up enough, and what I teach in my classes, in my body classes, I don't teach from the outside just about the behavior. I teach from the inside. Like, we start with bones, and then we look at how the nerves innervate the bones, and then we look at how there are meridians that can get affected when they get, contacted too hard and they can shut down. We look at the muscles, we look at the fascia. We look at all of the layers underneath the skin that we don't typically see, that are the main contributing factors to why behavior, health, emotional, relationship, factors can happen in our animals. And remember, one thing that is so important, and it is the simplest thing, and we constantly are not taught it, and we constantly forget this, is that our breath, literally how we breathe, how our animals breathe, 100% affects our brain chemistry, how we experience our life. It affects our immune system and our vitality. So if we have compromises in the system and it compromises our breathing, think about, have you ever fallen off a bicycle, had a skiing accident, tripped and fell, had some kind of injury, had a broken bone? The first thing that happens when that takes place, when that incident is happening, is you pull your breath up because you get really frightened. Now, your diaphragm muscles will relax back into place, but sometimes the tissue that's covering your muscles, your fascia tissue, it actually stayed pulled upward, and you start breathing more shallow. You start breathing in your chest instead of in your belly. And it was fascinating how every session I did with an animal, they kept teaching me more and more about this, but in the simplest of ways. So when they shared with me this piece about the breath, and that if you're breathing too much into your chest and not enough into your belly, kind of activating your sympathetic nervous system, which creates fight or flight, which puts you on alert, which makes you kind of shorten your periphery vision and, constantly be scanning, like, where's the tiger? Where's the tiger? Where's the tiger? When's it going to jump out of the woods? And when I would work with their body and find the areas that were tight and assess that and then release it, and they took a big breath, then all of a sudden I could literally feel their entire nervous system relax, their brain chemistry relax, their behaviors relax, their health issues completely shifted almost instantly. And so it's been a very, very fascinating journey because I'm learning the science. I'm learning the natural science directly from the same beings that the Taoist monks studied with well over 5,000 years ago. And so, when someone like Dr. Fauci says, trust the science, and it's a very short-term science, and it is not had lots of long-term observation and study, I say, well, I do trust the science, but I'm trusting the science of what the animals know. I'm trusting their science because it's been around for tens of thousands, if not millions of years. And the other thing that I found so fascinating about it was the way that they described it. It has many, many, many complex layers, but they described it so simply to me that it was like, wow, anyone can help shift their animal's behavior or health really quickly with their own two hands, knowing just what is taking place, how the body actually works from the bones all the way out to the skin, how the chi actually flows, because when fascia gets tight, it will also slow down the flow of chi running through our bodies. And if you don't have chi, your body actually can't exist. It's like the invisible life force. It comes literally through our breath, through the ethers, and there's actually nutrition in it, believe it or not, that helps support our entire systems. So as I'm going through this path and learning all of these things from the animals and just implementing it, because my way of testing the science is just continue to do it. So the body assessments that they taught me, I started to do that with every animal client. And the results I was seeing and the changes that I was seeing in behavior issues and in health issues, like the rapidness of if you just release where the body is stuck and open that energy flow back up, body knows exactly what to do, right? That has become the way that I work with animals, through behavior issues, through health issues, I've got a lot of clients that come to me that have spent a lot of money with veterinarians, with trainers, with other communicators. And they're, oftentimes the people are just kind of like, I'm at my end. Like I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what to do to help my animal, but I know that there's something wrong. And then I'll do an in-sync assessment on them and we clear up the issue oftentimes in one session. Now, that's not to say that's every session, but a lot of the times in one single session, we have such dramatic shifts that last. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I see this so often in the behavior training world, whether it's a dog, a cat, or we don't really train cats, right? They train us. But in the dog and the horse world, I see so many people with so much intellectual knowledge, which is fabulous and fascinating, but they don't actually have the connection with the animal's whole system as one chi field. And so they're looking at treating different things, but oftentimes they're not understanding about treating the entire animal. And when, let's put it this way, the animal said to me one day, if you don't have a body, you can't have a behavior. So any behavior issues I work with, always get a body assessment first. It's like, I don't pretend to know enough. I don't know what that animal knows about their body, but I know that they know. I know that if I do a body assessment, it's going to give us a whole lot of information. And again, I'm not diagnosing a single thing. I'm just sharing the connections of what traditional Chinese medicine understands about the body and then putting the pieces together, which the animal informs me about. And then we see results. So if you have been working with your animals and you have been experiencing behavior issues that you've been chasing after for a while, and some things have shifted, but it's not to the degree that you would really like to see it shift. If you have been dealing with health issues that, again, it's like chasing a moving target. The work that I do and what I'm helping people understand about the animal kingdom, which is the direct science from the animal kingdom, is this awareness of how much body misalignment and unrecognized pain is at the root of so many of these behavior and health issues. And when we start to understand this from their simple science, it is remarkable. I've had so many clients that have actually helped their own healing because they're like, well, okay, if that worked for my animal, can I do this for me? Maybe they go get a chiropractic adjustment. Maybe we just shift their breathing in a session with their animal, and that helps transform so many things for them, because as soon as the body opens back up and is able to get more breath into areas, it literally shifts brain chemistry almost instantaneously. And why the animals have said the neuroscience is backward is because we've been studying the brain and the signals from the brain under certain conditions. But what the animals taught me was, and I did a PhD research study on this with 27 formerly wild horses. None of them knew me. I had never met them. I never touched them. I'm sorry, 3 of them had met me, but they had never sniffed me. They didn't know anything about me. And so over Zoom, anywhere from 100 to 2,000 miles away, I worked on these horses and did the in-sync body assessment and fascia release. And every single horse, their behavior shifted. Some horses that were completely untouchable were asking for touch. Some horses that weren't willing to connect at all started connecting with the human. Now, the humans didn't know what I was doing either. So, if you want to talk about a truly double-blind study, and I was not communicating with them, I was not telling them anything, I was just literally palpating their bodies over these long distances via Zoom, and I have all the recordings of it, so you're welcome to see my research. It really helped clarify for me, wow, body misalignment is the first thing that we should be checking with any animal with behavior or health issues. Usually we're trying to troubleshoot the symptom, what's taking place. But if we go back to the root of the symptom, which is often unrecognized pain in the body, and we can release it, we have a system now that is flowing, which means that the body and the breath are really what's sending information to the brain. And then the brain is doing what it does, which is organizes things, and it sends out the proper chemicals. But the brain is only going to send out chemistry based on what the body is telling it. So I was fascinated when the animals shared this with me, because I was like, oh my God, our neuroscience actually is really backwards. Because if you can check an animal's body, see where the tightness is, release it, the breath fills the body back up, that relaxes the nervous system, then the information and the data that goes to the brain from the body's nervous system, and this happens very, very quickly. I mean, I can only sense it because I'm an empath and I'm very, very sensitive to energies. So I can sense the moment that things shift. I don't know that we have equipment. I think we have some equipment, some energy-based equipment, that's outside the realm of traditional medical science. And when I say traditional medical science, remember, we're only going back like 100, maybe 110 years. Rockefeller medicine is not natural medicine. It is a system that got developed by John D. Rockefeller to actually create a sick care system, not a healthcare system. And I'm not putting down Western medicine. I think it's wonderful for most emergency situations. But nature has kind of been around a lot longer than the current medicine. So we shouldn't even be calling it alternative medicine. We should be calling it natural medicine. So what the animals were showing me this whole time was how to get back to the simplicity of this natural medicine that they know, and how simple our bodies can be understood and their bodies can be understood from the perspective of Chinese medicine and energy flows, which is not what Western medicine takes into account. That's why we have more drugs in Western medicine, where we might have more supplements in Eastern medicine. But either way, what the animals even showed me to that degree was you could be on the best supplements, you could be on the best health routine. If you are not breathing properly, if there is something stuck in your body that is compromising your breath, it will affect everything. It will affect how you digest. It will affect how you absorb. It will affect how you process information. And as soon as you release that tension in the body, the breath grows bigger the way that it's supposed to. There's a better balance between the sympathetic nervous system breathing in your chest to the belly breathing parasympathetic nervous system in your belly. And when your body feels calmer and more relaxed because you're getting more air, then the chemistry and the data that the nervous system sends to the brain as data to release the certain chemicals, you can literally change brain chemistry almost instantly. But I wouldn't have known that had I studied the Western science, right? I wouldn't have known that had I studied with the humans. I had to study with the animals who were teaching me step by step these processes. First, they taught me about the alignment points on the back, and then they taught me about the alignment points on the belly, and then the horses stepped in and taught me about alignment through the face and the fascia tissue. And with thousands and thousands of case studies now under my belt, it's really a huge missing link that I want to put back into any of the behavior or health conditions that are going on with our animals. I'm not saying if you have an emergency, don't go to the vet. That is not what I'm saying. If you have an emergency, you go to the vet. But if you have something going on that you cannot seem to get at the root of, that's where you want to be checking your animal's body alignment. Whether you want to visit a chiropractor, whether you want to contact me and I can work with your animal via Zoom, whether you want to take classes and learn how to do this for yourself. The classes that I offer in learning how to assess and release tension in your animal's body through the fascia. It's fascinating because I tell my students all the time, when you come into class, take a picture of yourself, because you're not going to be the same person in the next 7 weeks. I mean, the things that take place, not only in them learning how to work on their animal's body, but so many ahas and so many connecting of the dots happen for them with their animal, but also with themselves, and oftentimes as we're working and learning, a lot of old patterns and a lot of old programming comes up, whether it's, I can't do this. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, how to do this. Even like self-trust, self-worth, things like that literally come up in some of our sessions, and we easily work through it. So by the time that our class is finished, not only have they learned about really important points on the body, they've learned about really important things with themselves. And the culmination of that is them feeling healthier and better, and their animals feeling healthier and better, and them being empowered that they don't always have to contact me. They can make, they can see things in their animals, and now they literally have the hands-on skills to work either on body or off body to help release unrecognized pain or tension in their animals. And I don't know, it feels like helping to create a better world, helping to co-create and facilitate the energy of heaven on Mother Earth. So I hope this made sense. Let me know how it resonates with you. If you are having any behavior or health issues and you have been reaching out to other experts and professionals and haven't gotten the results that you want, it might just be because there is a missing link in a lot of the training systems out there. And before you ever consider putting your animal on a drug because of a behavior issue you can't get under control or a health issue, check out my in-sync body assessment and fascia release work. Because I'm not saying that you shouldn't put your animal on that, but if the dysfunction is coming because there is a misalignment somewhere, or there's unrecognized pain, or there's nerve compression somewhere that's maybe not allowing enough blood flow or enough chi flow to get to a certain organ, because the whole system is connected. I want to just point that out. The entire body is one connected system. In our modern world and in the reductionist world, you see a specialist for your nose, ear, and throat. Then you see another specialist for your knee. You see another specialist for your hip. You see another specialist if you're getting migraines. Another specialist if you're having digestive issues. In traditional Chinese medicine and Qigong, the body and the way that I teach my body work is helping you understand that the body is one connected unit. So it's not these separated out pieces. And if you can find where there is a subluxation in your assessment, or you find tight compressed fascia tissue and you can release it, you have the ability to shift the entire system. Because the entire system, once it knows that that is, and it feels that it is no longer a compression or there's backed up energy, the system re-regulates itself beautifully. And it is, when I say it's such an exquisite system, oh my goddess, like our bodies, our animals' bodies are absolutely freaking amazing. But we've been conditioned and taught that, well, number one, we need to be disconnected from them. We can't know these things. Only a doctor could know them. Number two, God forbid we know how to heal ourselves instead of relying on a sick care model of medicine. And again, I am 100% for that in emergency situations and any situation. Go check with the vet. You don't want to miss anything. And you can also be doing this work to simply learn how to use your own hands to touch different points on your animal's body that can help their energy flow better and release tightnesses in their body so that their energy does flow better. So if that is something that you're interested in, you can feel free to visit my website at alleciamaine.com, ALLECIA, Maine, MAINE.com. Feel free to share any questions with me at hello@animalhealer, HEELER.com. And feel free to work with me. I'm offering training classes. They're virtual, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home. I will teach you what I have learned about bodies and how that affects behaviors and health. I will teach you about your own energy flows. I'll do another podcast on energy bubbles that the animals taught me. And yeah, if you're ready to address the root of your animal's behavior or health issues, check out my website, check out my classes, and I really look forward to assisting you and your animals find your flow again. in the energy field. So when I started animal communication, a lot of people said, "Oh my God, that's so woo woo." And after having studied for 30 plus years Qigong, I'm like, nope, it's Wu Wei. And Wu Wei is a concept from the Tao that is all about effortless action. It's flowing with nature, not against it. It's finding the balance and the harmony by easily removing the one or couple things that have kind of like built up, that are creating a disruption in the flow, kind of like a boulder in the river, right? The energy flows around it. A lot of the times as humans, we keep trying to cut through the rock. So the way that I work with bodies, with behaviors, with leadership, it's really about teaching you about that authentic flow of effortless action. It doesn't mean you're not doing anything. It just means you're following the energy flow of it so things get done much more efficiently and completely. So if that's of interest to you, I look forward to working with you. Please share with me too, what were your ahas from this podcast? I want to really be able to share with you freely how I have come to see all of these aspects, what the animals directly have been teaching me, so that I can share that with you. So hopefully it helps you on your journey, and it helps you find your Wu Wei and your flow with your animals. So whether you have cats or dogs or horses or birds or turtles or snakes, whether you're at a sanctuary and you have bears or tigers or lions or elephants or giraffes or rhinos, I can assist you, and I look forward to it. So have a beautiful day. Thanks for listening. Feel free to share this information with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues, even with your animal practitioners and professionals. This is information. It's ancient information, so it's not like, oh, I'm the one that discovered it. I'm just connecting the dots from all the ancient wisdom that the animals have, and I hope that helps support you and your animals in co-creating your version of heaven on Mother Earth. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the next podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to Ask the Animal Healer. I hope today's episode inspires you to build even stronger bonds with your animal companions. Don't forget to visit our website, AlleciaMaine.com, to discover more about how you can revolutionize your relationship with your best friends. See you next time for more insights and stories right here. Until then, keep listening and loving your furry animal family members. Bye.